Okay, I want to talk to you today about panic attacks. If you are having them, if you have ever had one, I'm sorry, because I've been there and it is not enjoyable, and I would do anything in my power to never experience that ever again. And I haven't experienced it. And if we follow what I'm going to share with you today, you will be free of this. I can absolutely guarantee you. I completely understand how you feel. And yeah, let's talk about, how this comes about and also what we can do in the immediate as well as the long term to be rid of panic attacks for good. So when we're dealing with panic attacks, the first thing that we have to understand is it feels like Ferrari speed. We can go from 0 to 200 in 3 seconds, except panic attacks don't really work that way. So it's actually not possible unless there is like a real physical health issue that is kicking off the panic attack. Heart issues can do it. Certain medications can do it. Certain supplements can do it even. But it's not possible to go from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. So a panic attack doesn't arise unless we're talking about a specific set of health issues out of nowhere. And when I first had my panic attack, my first one, that's what I thought. I was like, this just came out of nowhere. And how is this possible? And I'm going crazy, and never wanted to have one again, except they were daily and constant anxiety, and then just waiting for that next panic attack. So you've got anxiety about your anxiety and more panic about the panic. But the thing is to understand is that there are essentially 4 stages of stress, and panic attack is the 4th stage. Okay. So we don't go from stage 0 to stage 4 in terms of the stages of stress and the chemical responses, the neurotransmitters and the stress hormones that are released at every stage. So we don't go through those 4 stages of stress and get to the top level overnight. And you probably already know that. So you probably already are aware of the fact that there was long-term stress and then maybe a big reality slap that tipped you over the edge. Or this has been creeping and coming for years sometimes. So the first thing is to understand, and it doesn't mean we need to go back and unravel that, but once you get an understanding, it gives you relief. So you have to understand first what actually has been driving this. Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional? Is it energetic? What is it? And is it all of those things? And if so, that's fine. Panic attacks are a giant wake-up call that something is very, very out of alignment. And usually we are burning out, and that can come through overworking. It can come through overthinking. You might have always had a mind that overthinks. Severe stress, long-term stress, and again, the stress can be real or just what you perceive to be real inside your mind, as in the way that you talk to yourself, the doom and gloom radio station that's playing. Then we get to really, really high levels of adrenaline, which is a panic attack is basically your heart not being able to deal with the severe level of adrenaline that's in your system. And that doesn't come about chemically or biochemically. It doesn't come about like that. So long term, we have to look at, you have to know the cause of what has actually brought you to stage 4. Okay. And you have to know that to be able to heal it for good. And it can be very quick. Like once you actually know the cause, if it is hormonal, and how to get your stress hormones down, and how to rework your mind. I've never met anyone ever, and I'm just backtracking through the hundreds of clients that have been on my retreat having panic attacks right in front of me. I have been a breakout coach at very large personal development events where I stand in the wings and I wait for, those events can trigger people. And they have to leave the room, and I'm literally standing there waiting for them to leave the room. So I've seen hundreds of people have panic attacks, and I've had them. So if other people can't see it and don't understand it, it can be terrifying because it feels like you're having a heart attack. And to other people, it looks like you're having a heart attack. And I'm going to go through immediately what we do in a minute. But I have never met anyone that is having panic attacks unless there is a physical issue that has not been uncovered. And I have had some of those clients, but probably 1% of them, it is actually genetic. And there is a physical issue that really needs to be rectified. That is just, they've always been that way. But I haven't met any client that hasn't been dealing with, that isn't a people pleaser in absolute excess, severely concerned always about what other people think about them, constantly comparing themselves, and an absolute perfectionist. That A-type personality, which means you're very sensitive and very aware of what other people think, what other people say. You're very aware of how you are in the world, and you buy into what your mind is telling you about how you are, how you show up, and how you should be constantly. And I mean constantly, 24 hours a day. But the beauty is, I see panic attacks as a gift. It's like getting a get out of jail free card, because it is a massive sign that physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically, your relationship with yourself and your life needs to drastically change. So you have just been given a ticket that says, because of this, you now have no choice. You now have no choice but to transform your relationship with yourself and your life, because you can no longer do what you're doing. So it is a gift into a gateway where you have to intensively do something about this. You cannot just try a little pill here and there, or a little remedy here and there. When you get to this point of stage 4, and you end up with me, we have to do something intensive, and it has to be holistic. We have to look at how you've set life up. We most definitely have to look at how you are talking to yourself. We most definitely have to change the relationship that you have with yourself. We most definitely have to deal with the obsessive compulsiveness in terms of your thoughts, and the control, the severe level of control that you have over everything, and the ladder that you're climbing that's going nowhere except breakdown, because you're so hard on yourself and you're pushing yourself so hard. This is your opportunity to do something very intensively but empowering about this, and to set up the relationship with yourself and your life very differently from this point forward, because you no longer have a choice. You cannot live with this. You cannot. I see what people type into Google about panic attacks. It's like how to deal with a panic attack. It's like, we don't want to continue to deal with panic attacks. We want to eradicate them, which means holistically, we've got to get to the cause of this, and we have to nail it, and we have to eradicate it. But the cause for you is not just in one area. I know that with panic attacks, it is not just one thing, unless you are in my 1 to 2% of clients where there is genuinely a genetic issue that we haven't found, that hasn't been caught. So you've got to know the cause of why you're at stage 4. But it's a beautiful gateway into the next part of your life, even though it doesn't feel like that at the moment. I can tell you that it is. So that's long term. That's what my program is for. That's what I am here for. And it doesn't take as long as you think. And it's time for change. I can absolutely tell you that. So short term, here's what we do when we can feel it coming or we're already in it. Now, I have another blog that talks about how to deal with your mind, and it's just an audio guide. And I want you to, I'm going to put a link to it below so that you can grab that audio guide and walk yourself through it. But here's what I do with my clients, because I can see it coming in their eyes if they've been on retreat with me. By the way, on retreat with me is panic. They could have been having them every day. It's gone in a day. Okay, because I come at it from every angle, intensively, holistically. Number one, you've got to catch the thoughts. Something that you were saying to yourself right before, or possibly over and over again right before, that has kicked this off. So what was the thought? I'm having the thought that, because your mind is naturally, especially anyone who has panic attacks, a doom and gloom radio station. That's just the human mind. And when you're buying into that doom and gloom as being real, your body does not understand that it's not. It doesn't understand the concept of time. And if your mind is saying, this is terrible and I'm a terrible person and this is, this is what's going to happen. And you're imagining scenarios out into the future that haven't even happened yet, your body doesn't, or you're going back into the past and replaying scenarios that have happened, your body does not understand that that is not real. That is the power of the mind-body connection. So lesson number one, we have to get real with the doom and gloom radio station about what you're buying into as real, because you're believing it, you're fused with it. So the first thing is to defuse and go, hang on a minute, what was I thinking? What am I thinking about? I'm having the thought that my mind is telling me an interesting story that, thank you, mind, for telling me that interesting story. So this is how you actually catch it before it escalates to that point. The emotions and the anxiety that were there beforehand or start to come in those waves of panic. Our natural response is to avoid them. Obviously, they're uncomfortable and we don't like discomfort. But when we actually learn to make room for what we're feeling and we come at it with a lot of compassion and kindness, like we're holding a child that's really upset and having a tantrum, when we can do that for ourselves daily, many times throughout a day, but especially when the panic is rising or we're already in a panic attack, because what we're trying to do is make it go away. You can't make it go away. You can't make any emotion go away. What you can do is observe it and watch it and inquire into it and hold space for it and allow it to be there and realize that there are no bad emotions. They are just signals that something is not okay. And specifically with panic, it's you're in fear. So what are you scared of? What are the fearful thoughts that you're telling yourself? What are the self-battering thoughts that you're telling yourself? What is coming to the surface to be healed that you are buying into as real? To the point where the emotion comes and clients will argue about it. It just came out of nowhere. I'm like, it's not possible. It's chemically not possible unless there is a heart issue or you've been injected with something or you've taken a medication. Even supplements like B6 can give people panic attacks. And unless there's a physical reason, a panic attack doesn't come out of nowhere. So what is it that you're saying to yourself? Because before the emotion was a thought, there's a story that you bought into as real. And when we get that emotion that comes and we go, hang on, I'm going to breathe into this instead of trying to avoid it. And instead of listening to the thoughts in our heads, we start to watch them. So if we can watch and observe and we can make room for emotions, the panic attack will not exist. And the mind is powerful. So let's say you're replaying. I had a client once at an event that had a panic attack in the room, and it was a particular song that came on, and everyone in the room was dancing. And she was back at being 5 years old she had a really cruel dance teacher, and it was the same song. And so she went back. That's like 90% of your mind is unconscious. So we're going back through that layers of experience all the way back. And she was 5. She was not a 30-year-old woman at that moment. She was 5 years old, experiencing the same emotions, believing that she was unlovable, being rejected, being told off. But when you start to learn to transform your relationship to your thoughts and the pictures and learn to hold space for our emotions daily, especially when we're in panic, and we learn to breathe into them and we learn to allow them to be there, they have room to move. If you try and avoid them or control them, it's going to come out, and it's going to come out with a bang at some point. So it's not fearing those strong emotions and catching them before it gets to that panic. As the fearful thoughts are there and the emotions are coming, it's breathing into them and holding space for them. Your breath, you know it when you're in panic. It's your life raft. And when you know how to utilize your breath to bring in that softness and that calmness and compassion when you need it most, it will become your life raft. After you've breathed into the emotion, you've made space for it. My audio guide will walk you through how to do this. And you know what the thoughts and the triggers were that we are no longer going to buy into. You've got to contact the present. And especially with panic attacks, nature is needed. So get your feet on grass. Get yourself to a tree. I've had clients that say lying on cold tiles is like really calming for them. I used to put both my palms under water, like a cold tap underwater. It would just like immediately reset me. Too much sensory processing is not good. So you usually have to get out and away from and not be touched by people. If someone tries to touch you, it's the worst thing that they can do. So as a breakout panic coach, I would immediately take them outside. I wouldn't touch them and no reaction, because I'm trying to teach them not to react to their thoughts and emotions. So I need to show them what they need to see. I wouldn't react. I'd be like, this is what's happening right now. And this is what you need to be able to do with yourself. This is just a fearful thought. You are just having strong emotions. Are you seeing pictures? Maybe I am seeing pictures. Okay, cool. That was the trigger. All right, let's just take a little walk. And this is all going to be done in a couple of minutes because it is. And let's see, would you like to put your feet in the water or your feet on the grass? Would you like to put your palms under a tap, or would you like to just sit on your own for a minute? It's all about walking yourself through it in the moment, but keeping in mind we don't want to get good at this because we want to eradicate it for good, which is why you and I need to talk and you need to log into my program almost immediately. But grass, water, cold tiles, whatever it is, it's going to help you contact reality. Your mind is doom and gloom. You're going to get killed. You're about to die. Fear, 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 like a radio station. The emotions are like, oh, that's real. I'm going to buy into that. And the body is firing because your adrenaline levels were also already at their peak. But when we contact the present moment and we use our breath to calm ourselves and come back into the present moment, then we can contact reality. Doom and gloom versus reality. In reality, I am safe. In reality, I have my body. Where are my arms? Where are my legs? I can feel the grass. You have to contact the present moment. I can feel water. Anything that brings you back into the present, that you can feel, see, and touch, that is not overwhelming. And then give yourself time. Don't buy into, oh my God, I'm crazy. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. I can't do this anymore. Don't buy into any more stories. Give yourself time in the present moment until you start to observe. You can see the sky. You can hear the sounds. And know that the feelings, sensations, and the emotions that are flooding through your system will pass. So I have an audio to walk you through this, like how we actually transform. And I want you to practice it so we don't get to this level, so that you know what to do on a daily basis. But like I said, long-term panic attacks, we have to do something intensively and holistically right now to eradicate this for good. You've got a couple of options. You want to know what the cause of it is? Do the quiz. You want immediate relief? Get my relief kit. 7 days and start teaching, like resetting your daily habits, what you're eating, how you're thinking, how you're self-calming, how you're resting, what you're taking to get relief with the herbs that I have. But really, you need a deep dive. If you're at this point, you will never look back. You are at a point where it is time to transform in a very intensive way that will be life-changing. This is like I said, it's a get out of jail free card. You now have been given a ticket that says it is time to live life on your terms. It is time to thrive because you are barely surviving. So I'm being a little bit forceful with you, but I also understand completely how it feels. Reach out if you want one-to-one support for panic attacks when we're at that point. It's a 2-month journey with me where we meet weekly and we work on every life area, because at this point, it genuinely is every life area, unless there's something physical that we need to uncover together. So you have options, and reach out. It's time to begin something that is going to kick this for good.